Do we have to hold this up to talk? Okay. Okay, we're ready?
Ready to tap dance.
Can they see us? Oh, yeah, I guess so.
I don't know. Are we on Zoom?
Not yet.
Yeah.
No. We're on YouTube.
That's all of us together. Oh, that's
Good.
That's original.
I'd like to call to order this regular school board meeting for the Woodbridge Local Schools. Roll call, Mr. Morehouse.
Mrs. Flasco?
Here.
Mrs. Hanson?
Here.
Mrs. Heffernan?
Here.
Mr. Leidig?
Here.
Mr. McHugh?
Here. Would you all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'll take a motion now to suspend bylaws 0169.1, public participation at this board meeting due to the situation with the COVID-19 virus.
I move.
Second.
Whatever.
Mrs. Hanson?
Aye.
Mr. Leidig?
Aye.
Mrs. Flasco?
Aye.
Mrs. Heffernan?
Aye.
Mr. McHugh?
Aye. Okay. Next up is recommend the board take a motion to approve the meeting agenda.
I move.
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Mrs. Hanson?
Aye.
Mrs. Flasco? Mrs. Heffernan?
Aye.
Mr. Leidig?
Aye.
Mr. McHugh?
Aye. Okay. We have an agenda, we have a meeting. Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Mr. McHugh. We have several things to discuss tonight, but the first is a kind of a feel-good story. At all of your seats, you have one of these. I want to explain what this is. As you know, hospitals and healthcare providers across the country are in desperate need of masks. And so Mr. Unangst, our tech director, learned of a friend of his who had a program that could be used to set up our digital printer to create these, into which a filtration vent can be put here
On the outside?
on the inside, and then obviously straps, elastic around these openings that you see on the sides. And there you have a reusable, cleanable mask that we are making now. Eric has a couple of former Woodridge students, alumni, who are coming in. They're home from college. They're looking for something to do, so he picked a couple of students that he worked with in the past. They've been coming in. So far, we've made roughly 50 of these with materials we had on hand. They'll be donated to both Children's Hospital here in Akron, which is our partner, and also Hillcrest Hospital up in Cuyahoga County had a need for them as well. So it's just one way we're giving back and helping the community. After the meeting, if you want to see the process in action, we have 2 digital printers around the corner back there, and they are in the process of making 2 of these right now.
What kind of materials are they using? Are they using pellets?
It is a continuous spool of
That's what I thought.
material.
So what do you put in here? What?
Well, imagine a surgical gown, cut it, then it goes inside, and there's an adhesive that they
You
use,
can use
obviously.
probably coffee filters.
Any kind of filter kind of
Oh, okay.
material would work.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to share that with you. Obviously, you also know that yesterday Governor DeWine went ahead and extended the school closure order through the end of the academic year.
Right.
So we're going to continue to operate online. Things are going well. I continue to have stories of unusual and heartwarming stories of how our teachers are connecting with kids
Mr. Davis,
in
can I ask
unusual
you a
ways,
question?
of course.
Mr. Governor DeWine's order was to cease their in school,
That's right.
but their school still is going on.
Yeah, that's a huge point. Someone said to me recently that schools are closed, and I said, no, school buildings are closed.
Exactly.
Schools are open. We are working harder perhaps now than ever. Our teachers are learning new skills, new techniques, and really engaging with kids in ways that it really is going to change the way we do things, I think, well into the future and programs we provide for kids. So that's a great point. Item B on my agenda tonight is a conversation with our construction team. At our meeting last month, I shared with you that we are ready to move forward with construction of the transportation office and warehouse facility located in the bus yard. The site is in the bus yard just behind the Board of Education office. So on the screen behind me, we have members of our construction team, our lead architect, Chaz Schreckenberger, and his architectural buddy, our friend Derek Mast, who was an instrumental part of our construction team when we did the elementary school and the addition here at the high school. Derek is involved again with this project, and also Jason Calvi, who is the construction manager from Regency Construction. And this guy behind me here is Vinny Spitali, of course, our director of facilities. So I asked these guys to be on the screen tonight so that we could walk through the proposal with you, answer any questions that you have, kind of just talk it out. And my hope is that after tonight, you'll be in the position where you'll feel comfortable in moving forward with this. And perhaps a week from now, we could get together for a one agenda item meeting where we could perhaps do that electronically, even on Zoom, and not have to get together publicly, as long as we make that available to the community, and have you vote yes or no to move forward with this project. Our hope is that we can get started and get this building up and running for the coming school year. God willing, we'll be in need of it. So you guys who are on the Zoom call behind me, I'm going to get up and move so that I can see you. But Chaz, if maybe you want to start and just kind of walk the board through what we've designed. I don't know if he hears me or not.
Everybody has a set of drawings in front of them, I take it?
That's correct.
So, Eric, I'm going to ask you to walk through the site plan and then in the floor plan, and then Jason, if you could just kind of talk about some of the issues that we had with trying to keep this thing in budget. We started out, I'll just say, we started out with meeting with the district to understand what the desired program for the building is, and we put that in. Of course, our architectural colleague Vinny was able to draw that up for us, and he did communicate very well what the needs are for the district for basically an office and meeting space for the transportation group, as well as a storage facility for the same purpose. And so we talked about the best location for that building, given the location of where the buses are parked now, and trying to minimize the site development costs. We did place it in the place to where we felt was the best location, and did the drawings. Regency worked with us to review costs, and that's where we were forced to kind of make a lot of decisions or discussions about reducing the cost of the facility in every way we could. So first we'll start with talking about where it is on the site and the campus, and then talk about the functions of the building more specifically in the elevations, and then maybe Jason can give us a summary of the process that we went through with regard to costing. Eric?
Yeah, sure. If you have the sheet C201 in front of you, that's the vicinity site plan, zoning site plan. On your left-hand side is Quick Road, State Road on the right. The board office, you'll see it there off of Quick Road. and there's the existing bus lot right to the south of that. And we're looking at the proposed location right there along the fence line at the back of the parking lot for the board office. What we're trying to do is maintain the privacy of the fence, but also letting the bus traffic come around to the north and connect to the north side of the bus parking lot. Going to the next sheet, looking a little closer at C200, you can see the back of we have a proposed transportation garage almost in the middle of the sheet. And the back of the building is going to be sitting along the fence line that's currently there at the back of the parking lot. We will need to relocate the gas tanks that are sitting out there and the shed. But you'll see 4 parking spaces on the south side of the transportation building. Those are there to support entrance into the administration area. I'm going to go generally from south to north here. There's an administration area, then a bus wash area, and then ultimately the warehouse on the north side of the proposed building. All of the overhead garage doors will be coming in from, they will not be visible from the board office. They'll be on the back side of the building where the drive for the buses will wrap around and connect to the north parking lot. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Eric? Okay, great. Then the next sheet is A101. This is an enlarged floor plan that's on the right-hand side. The ceiling plan is on the left, but looking closely at the floor plan, you can see the parking curbs out there to the left. Those are the parking spaces I had mentioned previously. There's an entrance into the administration area where there's a supervisor office, a secretary, a small janitor's closet, and a handicapped men's and women's restroom that lead all into a new meeting room that has some wall cabinets, a refrigerator, sink, and a countertop for presentations. The meeting room is designed to support 40 people. And moving to the north, there's a 20-foot wide bay bus wash which has access to the west side where there's a toilet room and mechanical and equipment room. Moving even further north, then we reach the warehouse, which has 2 large overhead doors, large workspace and storage space. And you'll see up there on the west side of the building, or the top of the floor plan, in the middle of the building is a stairway that leads up to about a 1,200 square foot mezzanine structure. And that is the general floor plan. You can see the mezzanine floor plan up above, removable railings for storage and access in between the warehouse and the mezzanine. We'll have a ceiling in all these spaces, metal ceiling, and LED light fixtures, which is what we did at the renovations to the high school as well as the new elementary school, keeping it as energy efficient as possible. And moving on to the A201, I believe is the next sheet you should have. These are the elevations where you can see at the bottom of the page, the south elevation, that's the administration entrance. Let me say real quick that the structure for this is a wood pole structure, wood frame, but it will be clad in metal, metal wall siding and a metal roof. But back to the south elevation, we have some windows to allow for natural light into both the secretary's supervisor area and the conference meeting room on the left. And then the east elevation up above that, that's the elevation that's going to be facing the access road that leads around to the north side of the garage, so you would not see it from Quick Road. But we have almost in the middle of the building the bus wash door, and then the two doors that are together with a man door in between are for the warehouse. Up above that, the west elevation, that's what would be facing the board office. You'd see that from Quick. And then to the north elevation, facing the high school, have some of the mechanical ventilation and four high windows that will at least get sunlight into the space. You'll see that we stepped the structure, the idea there being we don't need that much volume over the administration meeting room area. So in an attempt to save some cost for life cycle cost and energy from the mechanical performance, we stepped the roof on that part of the building. And the last sheet, A301, is a look inside the building. You can see in the top left, detail 1, the mezzanine sits on the back side of the building, only taking up about 1/3 of the warehouse area. Moving down to detail 3, you can see it in elevation with the stair in the back and the removable handrail, guardrail to allow access up in between the two. And then the wall section showing the general foundations and wood structure that we're looking to use. We have not selected an exact color yet, but obviously we will be sensitive to the board office and some of the materials that we've been working with on the other buildings, so that it would it'll blend and end up being a nice looking facility.
I would add, Derek, that we really kept it as simple as possible in terms of the construction and method, as well as the spaces. They're not gold plated by any stretch. They're very utilitarian and very functional for a pretty big need that the district really needs for this group and for the storage.
Correct. Yeah. Jason, did you have anything you wanted to add along those lines? Like Chaz had said, we went with the sealed concrete floors in most of the areas. Yeah, very utilitarian. I don't know if there's anything you want to add or need to walk through.
No, I think to Chaz's point, I think we started looking at when this whole process began. We started with a pre-engineered metal building, which was red iron, steel columns, steel trusses. And when we went through pricing that, it was over budget. So we started looking at different options. We looked at costs for just this entire scope without the mezzanine. Maybe that was an alternate. We looked at using maybe just the office and the wash bay, what those costs would be. But ultimately, we decided, as Derek mentioned, using a pole barn structure, which saved not just on the structure costs, but also saved on the concrete and the foundation costs. This building still carries, with the metal siding and metal roof, still has a 40-year warranty. Still carries the same type of insulation in the walls and in the ceiling that a pre-engineered metal building would have. I think it's like an R19 in the walls and R38 in the ceiling. So it's going to be very energy-friendly building. Oh, Derek, you mentioned in the wash bay, we're using a truss core PVC paneling system, so that'll have a long longevity and for a lot of use to wash buses and other maintenance vehicles. Have a long lifespan in there as well. I think you hit a lot of the highlights, but I think we ultimately came down to the most economical part for this building to get the scope that the district was looking for.
Eric, if I could jump in, I'd like the board to hear from Vinny related to some of the costs that the district will now save when we build this building. We no longer will need to lease warehouse space on State Road, nor will we need to have porta potties, because remember, our bus drivers right now do not have restroom facilities, so we've been leasing portable restrooms for the transportation area. So Vinny, could you go over some of those savings that we anticipate?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the question.
Repeat the question. Are you able to go over some of the cost savings? Specifically, Mr. Davis, what were they?
The warehousing and restrooms.
Built into it, what were some of the cost savings tied into that?
Sure. Currently, the space that we lease for our warehouse and for storage for our records, which were previously housed in the primary school and the intermediate school, between the cost of that and the cost that we currently have for having the porta outlets at the current facility, our trailer back here, that will save us $1,875 a month by building the new building. Those are all items that will go away once this is built. And also, we also worked with Moore Well to where we are going to tap into the gas well in the back here. And so ultimately we will have free gas to run in our building. So not only will it heat the building, but the bus wash system that we are looking at also runs on natural gas. So it will also go to heat the water and run that system and heat the building as well.
We currently get...
You'll probably have some savings also just by the fact that you'll wash your own buses, right?
Right.
Or do you do that now?
We do that now, so.
Okay, Zoom callers, Mr. Davis had another comment here,
So we have worked hard over the last few years to digitize files, to try to cut down on the number of things we need to store, paper stuff. But school districts, as you probably know, are required by law to keep student records forever, specifically students that are on IEPs and whatnot. So we have need to, in some cases, keep paper copies of stuff, but also digital records and so forth. So that's another piece of this. We are going to continue to digitize files, but some of that mezzanine area in the warehouse, we'll be moving file cabinets in there, not only up top, but down below. Our equipment, our lawnmowers, our plows, all of that stuff now will be able to be stored, worked on, maintained under roof in that new warehouse section of the building. So I know Vinny's excited about having that available to him as well. You will remember that when we started this project, we challenged our architects and our builders to think about something about $500,000. And our budget from our elementary and high school renovation, our new elementary building, came in very well, and we ended up with a significant amount of money left, almost $1 million. Actually, it was $1 million left. Right now, we have $860-some thousand, I believe it is. I gave you those figures last week, sitting in that account, which must be used for improvements to the district. When we first started the community dialogues about what we wanted to do and what the community thought we should do, this piece was sitting out there that if we had the money to do it, the community thought we needed to have a nice place for our bus drivers that had restrooms and a place for storing equipment and materials so that we didn't have to continue to drive back and forth to wherever they were stored and lease those facilities. So this will accomplish everything that was listed in those original community discussions, and it will be able to be done within the costs that we have, the money that we have remaining in the bond issue. So no additional new tax money or anything like that would be required to do this. I'm not sitting at my desk over there, so I know the total is $720,000.
Less than 800,000.
Yeah, so it's significantly less than it originally was, and as Jason so aptly described, we went back to the drawing board repeatedly to trim this budget down as far as we could. And another little tidbit you'll be pleased to know is part of the reason we were able to do that is because of two contractors that we use in the district all the time that stepped up and helped out. And Regency was pleased to include them. George Connor's company, Connor Comfort Systems, is going to do the HVAC work. And our electrician, Horvath Electric, which does our electrical work throughout the district, will be doing that work in this new building as well. And they were able to price it cheaper and more economical than some others along the way. So it's always good to have some local vendors involved in a project like this. The board members, do you have any questions for the team that we can answer tonight?
I do.
For Vinny, is there enough space?
So Vinny, if you couldn't hear that, the question is there enough space?
Yeah, currently the space we're leasing, this will actually, best as we can tell, is going to add about 3,000 to 4,000 square feet in addition to what we're renting now. So if you take that and then subtract, right now we are housing all of our records in that facility right now that we're renting, but we're going to renovate, not really renovate, we're just basically going to gut the current trailer that the transportation's in, and we're going to turn that into our records trailer. So that way people will be able to get in, pull out what they need. It'll be much neater, much cleaner, and it frees up a bunch of space for us. So yes, the space should be spot on.
Marilyn?
I've got a few, but we're not using this space to repair buses.
No. That's
So
correct.
we're still going to be using the Connor space.
That's right.
to
We
deal
will
with
still
the
be
bus.
leasing the garage space on State Road that we leased a number of years ago for bus repair.
Yeah.
This is for the office for transportation and for the wash bay, which we currently don't have.
Okay.
Not repair.
So I'm not sure what end of this is, but it appears to be like garage doors, like 3 of them.
Yes.
Are 4 at the end of one end of the building or the other? Not where the offices are, but the other.
Right.
Are those for open like you would a regular garage, or is that a high?
They're high
14
doors,
feet?
very high doors. Jason, I don't know what the specs are on the garage doors. How high are they?
There's our 12 by 14 foot insulated doors.
Okay, so, but they're still not to have buses go in and get repaired.
No, the first one closest to the transportation office is the bus wash bay. So that
Yes,
one,
got
buses
that.
will go in. The other 2 are for Vinny to move the tow motor in and out, to drop off, deliveries
Got it.
of supplies,
Okay.
etc.
Got it. Explain to me why we wouldn't put a basement under this space to put records that are 50 to 60 to 80, 100 years old, which apparently we're going to have to keep.
There's really one really good answer to that, and this goes back to budget. Because if we were going to dig a basement, we would have dug trenches and moved the repair facility over there as well. You see, whenever you start digging, you're getting into a lot of cost. We talked about bringing our repair operation over there as well, but we would have to have a trench. We would have to, a lot of oil and, all the things that you run into. So the issue is money. It's all due to cost.
Okay. The movement of the fuel tanks,
Mhm.
appears to be close to the elementary school. Is that where you're fueling to, or do you fuel somewhere else?
Right now, we're having a couple of conversations about fuel, and I'll get to your question.
Okay,
Right now, we have a contract with a company that comes in. They own the tanks. That company does.
Yes.
They bring the fuel in. They refill that tank. They leave. A couple days later, they come back. They fill it again. They maintain the tank. When we had our performance audit a couple of years ago, you'll remember that one of the things the performance auditors told us we should do is own our own tanks so that we could get fuel at state minimum pricing. Well, if we did that, we got to maintain those tanks. We have to have contracts with folks that know how to do that, or get our guys trained, whichever way. And there are costs associated with that as well. So we're still talking about it. We haven't made a decision whether we're going to replace those tanks with new ones that we will own, or continue in our contract with the vendor that supplies it now. Regardless, we're going to move those tanks. I'm going to defer to Derek to talk a little bit about why we're moving them where we're moving them.
I guess it's really not that
Okay.
close, but it
It
just
isn't.
appears to be close.
It's a little closer, but not that close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're moving them. The ideal location for the facility is pretty much right in the center of the area of the middle of the fence, directly behind the board office. Unfortunately, the tanks sit really close to the building as well as the shed. So, and although we're just moving them about 20 feet, I think functionally it'll work a lot better. Because now that they're not tucked in from the corner, the shed and the tanks are right up against the edge of the parking lot. And I think that's a much. It allows us to have the building sited right where it needs to be with the parking for administration.
Hey, Derek, can I just add to that for
Yeah.
a second? If you'll notice on the print where the fence is existing now, it actually cuts back into the yard behind the board office, where the new tank location is. So it will actually take up less room and be more out of the way, right? Currently where they sit, we have bollards around them, but they're kind of out in the middle, where this location will actually put them off by themselves, away from the building and back into a new space to where they're out of the way, easy to maintain, and we're not taking up any room. So
Other questions?
The property behind, I think, it looks like a fence thing around the new building, but it has chain link fence way out here. Is this our property all the way out here?
I'm going to walk across here so I can see what you're pointing at.
Like Peterson, it says David and Vicki Peterson.
Yeah, Peterson is a family that owns a property.
Show me the fence.
See here, I think this is a current fence, I think.
Yeah.
But right here it says chain link fence. Is this our chain link fence or somebody else's?
There's a chain link fence that runs along the softball fields from the dugout back, and then it runs back towards the Pedersen property. Along that, there's a driveway that our guys use to drive from the bus, well, actually from the board office parking lot over to the warehouse that the Pedersens own. Between the fence, there's two fences, and it goes between there. It's like a little alley.
Okay, where it says asphalt pavement, is that our property?
That is our property.
Okay, well that more
Yes.
answers it. That-
Yeah. Where the building will be constructed is now currently, I'm calling it cinder. It may not, I don't know, it's like gravel, where our spare buses are parked. Just beyond that is asphalt that the buses currently use as a driveway to get in and out of the yard.
So where are the buses gonna park now?
Same place they are now. This
Oh.
will not impede parking, other than those few spares that we have parked, and
Here?
the trailer that we use for the football games, we'll relocate those. But we have room in the yard for those.
Gravel drive, that's the gravel drive that goes straight to state road.
Exactly. The cut through.
The other last question it looks like I have here is the main entrance to the office
Mhm.
is on the north side?
The main entrance to the offices faces where the buses are parked, so that Terry can keep an eye on the yard from his desk.
Okay. All right. And then, but you have to walk through that main entrance to get to the meeting room.
Yes,
But you can go out of the meeting room at another door.
yes. So after the meeting, the drivers are dismissed to go to their routes. We got 2 ways to get them out. Makes it
Got it.
quicker, more efficient.
Do we have more than 40 bus drivers?
We do not. Along the countertop that Derek described in the meeting room, Eric will put some desktop computers so that our bus drivers will have a place to check their email, do the kinds of things that we currently do in the other, in the trailer that they're using now. There's always been a computer there for the bus drivers to have access. We'll have that again, and probably more than one.
They'll have tables and chairs and stuff.
Yes. Yep, furnishings.
That's all the questions I have.
Does anyone else have any questions?
I have one about a sidewalk, but other than that.
Where are we gonna pick up the electricity from?
I'm going to defer to Vinny or Jason or Derek. Electrical service, where will it come?
There's a transformer behind the current board office. It's going to trench through. That's why we trimmed out some trees behind the board office. One, because they were getting too overgrown, it was going to create a problem. And two, to kind of open up some space to be able to get the service back. So it'll run from the transformer directly behind the board office straight back to the new building.
You notice Vinny keeps turning. He's looking out a window at that exact spot right now from his desk. David.
I do have one last question for Vinny as far as the space that we're currently renting. What's the annual savings on that space that we're no longer going to need to rent?
You said 1,800.
No,
That
Not that-
1,800 includes the porta potty.
1,300 is what we rent for. We pay $575 a month for the porta pots. So
oh,
it's
okay. So
$18.75
that was inclusive of the
Yes,
two. Okay.
that's the cumulative.
1,300 is what we pay
Okay.
for the storage.
So,
I missed that number encompassed both.
that's all right.
Well, I have one more.
Yeah, sure.
What is the purpose of this little shed if we're going to move it?
Vinny can give you that better than I can.
So, Dave, what's the purpose of the little shed at this station?
Currently, it houses tires for the buses so that we don't leave them outside, the new replacement tires for the buses. And also, Joe and Terry leave like some oil and transmission fluid, things that in case they would have to top off a bus quickly in the morning, or if someone notices they're a little low on something, they keep just a few odds and ends items there to kind of, some light bulbs, different things that they can
Okay.
swap out quick so that the buses don't get stuck there in the lot in the morning and end up having to take a spare.
Yeah, well, the fuels.
And we don't have to drive them clear over to the other facility to fix them. We can do it there.
It's fine.
Any other questions? Any other comments from our visitors?
Nope.
Eric, would you thank them on behalf of all of us?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Hope you all stay well.
Thanks.
You
as
too.
well.
Thank you.
I guess I can come back now. I'm just gonna stay there.
We could sing your way back since you got
You don't want to hear that. So, hearing all of that, I did bring a full set of drawings. If any of you are nerdy like I am and really want to look into the details, it's all right there in on that table. In order for us to move forward, it requires your approval. And I think it should probably sit for at least a week so that anyone maybe watching on our live stream that has a comment or something would be able to do that, or else you could vote for it tonight. I didn't want to do that to put you in that position. So, having said that, would it be agreeable to you to schedule a special meeting? We could do it over Zoom, make it quick, or if you preferred, we could come back in here Tuesday night next week and do it this way again. It's entirely up to you, and I can work with Jeff on the details, but the quicker we can get this approved, the
Right.
quicker our builder can get busy with construction and planning.
I'll leave my house. Let's meet here.
You'd like to do it here? That's fine with
Sure.
us.
Is
Other
everybody good
thoughts?
with that, meeting again in a week? Okay, that's what we'll
What's
do.
the date, please?
That would be the 28th of April, Tuesday evening.
Oh, I have a vestry meeting.
Well, Marilyn, is there a better time on Tuesday? Because given the situation we're in now, would it make sense to do it at a different time next Tuesday?
I have, vestry meeting is at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
And that's on the regular day this time, so I would go there.
Right, no, and we don't want to interfere with that.
5:30 or 5?
We could meet here at 5 o'clock next Tuesday.
Sure, that would be
We
fine.
have one agenda item, so I'm
Yeah,
anticipating.
that's fine with me.
Just a nay on the building, that's all.
Yeah.
we have
It
to do.
won't be very long, unless
And it
everybody's
gives the
got
public
questions.
a chance to chime in if they need
Yeah,
to.
I think that's important.
The only other question I have, because when I was in Russia, it really hit me. They don't have sidewalks in Moscow everywhere,
Yeah.
okay? They just have paths, and people walk where the paths are, not where the sidewalks were put,
Okay.
okay? So we have a walk here on page 2, which says, go from the board office all the way around here, come here, and then turn back and go over here to get to the bus lot. My question is, why don't we just come out of the board office and go straight across the lawn to get there?
Well, that sidewalk's already there.
I know, but, so they all walk way around, or do they go across the grass?
I've never seen anybody walk across the grass. It's
Oh,
pretty
okay,
wet
well, they
back
get
there.
their exercise then. Okay, that was all.
Well, and now, with this new building, right now, the only time that the bus drivers come to the board office is if they have to come and see one of us for an issue or.
All right, so they would be
quite frankly, to
parking
use the
out here,
restroom.
out here in front.
Yeah, some of them refuse to use the porta potty.
Right.
Now that won't be an issue. But the drivers park along the
And the back,
tennis courts and
yeah.
the softball area.
Yeah, I know, okay, now
The
that
back
makes
of the
sense,
board
right
office.
here. Okay. Right near the door, you've got parking.
So hearing no objection, I will have Joyce advertise a special meeting for next Tuesday at 5. Right here, we'll live stream it again. It'll be fast, and Marilyn will make her meeting.
Yes, that's
At
fine,
church.
because they have Bible study for 15 minutes, and I like to get there, but I can be late, so.
Okay. I have a couple of other quick items, I hope. Every year, as you know, wow, is that heavy? The Academic Services Department works with teachers across the district, with department chairs and collegial coaches, to identify needs for resources in the classroom, textbooks and whatnot. This year, I told Kristen, let's look for a single subject textbook adoption in an area of great need. Where do we have a book that's just fallen apart, isn't relevant anymore, or what have you? And she very quickly came back to me with Jeremy Max's request for a new American history textbook for grade 10. I have in my hand the teacher's edition. This is not the student's textbook. It weighs about 1,000 pounds. No, it's very heavy. This is a brand new United States history book. It has geography embedded in it, which is one of the reasons we like it. It is the new edition of the current series that we're using in both world and U.S. history. So it flows right from what we've been doing, and it'll match up with those other subjects, world history. There is an online component to this, which I insisted they include in the quote. Given where we are today, you know, having those online resources, video clips, access to web
That makes
information
sense.
is essential in today's teaching and learning world. So today I'm bringing this to you as an official presentation. The way the rules work is I share this with you at a board meeting. It sits for 30 days to enable the public to comment, to look at it if they should want to. We'll put it in the Board of Ed for that to happen. And then at the May meeting, I'll ask whether or not you're okay with us purchasing it. The total cost for that one subject with the online resources and teachers' editions is $18,682.65. $18,000, that's one course for one grade level at Woodridge High School. Now you know why I told Kristen to find just one subject for this year.
Unbelievable.
Okay? So I'll have this if you want to look through it. It goes all the way up through the Obama presidency. The 2016 election is in here. There's nothing printed by any major textbook vendor any newer than that, which you wouldn't expect there to be.
No.
So with your approval in May, we will get that purchased in time for the teachers to be able to work with it over the summer and have it for next school year.
Do you think there's going to be a time anytime soon when we're not going to need actual books at all?
This is I'm glad you brought that up, because as you know, in a prior life, I was the curriculum director in another school district, and I, at that time, thought that day was coming. And what the textbook companies decided was, well, gee, if we're giving them all this online, we have to figure out how we're going to make money, because they were making their money on selling books.
Mm-hmm.
So what they do now is, sure, you can buy just the online edition, but they sell you a seat license to that book online, which is about the same cost as what the textbook would have been. And it expires after X number of years, usually 5. So every 5 years, you're stuck re-upping and buying a new set. This book was last replaced 10 years ago. It's been 10 years since our U.S. history book was replaced. It's more economical for us to buy the textbook with the online supplements than it is for us to buy the online too. I mean, the textbook companies have you come.
And that way the kids can look at it at the beach, they can go to the park,
Yeah.
you know, they don't have to have a computer in front of them.
And think about the time we're in right now. You know, having both available is really helpful.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I still love to read the newspaper.
I do too.
I gotta
I
hold
do.
the newspaper, you know.
Me too.
And well, our
I can
kids
sit
maybe aren't in
anywhere I
that
want
same
to
boat.
and read the newspaper. I don't have to be in front of a screen.
The last thing I have for you is our annual discussion about pay to participate. I'm anticipating this being a quick discussion. I don't know. But you'll remember a number of years ago we had a pretty serious financial crisis, and our board at that time implemented pay to participate. In discussions in subsequent years, we decided that that was not what we wanted to do as a district, and the board suspended the idea of pay to participate and instead said, let's allocate casino revenues that the state had begun to pay school districts towards the costs that would have been paid by the pay to participate fee. And you've done that ever since. I shared with you in your packet this past week those figures. And while Tom and I have been talking about this year, we recognize that we probably won't see this same casino revenue moving forward because the casinos are now closed due to the illness. However, we also have parents and community members who are out of work. And to implement fees probably wouldn't be a good idea. Those are my thoughts. But we promised the community back then, a number of years ago, that we would revisit it every
year.
April. So I
That's a
put
good
it on the
idea.
agenda tonight for you
I
to
want it to stay the
discuss it.
same. I want us to keep doing it the way we're doing it. And who's to say, heaven forbid, that it will have all of the sports right away
That's true.
whenever school starts anyway. But, yeah.
That's a good point, Mrs. Heffernan. There are districts right now that are refunding
Yeah.
because the seasons have been canceled. Now they have to give that money back to the parents.
I think we got almost $100,000 already, so we're coming. So
Well, you'll just have to visit more
Just
once
do-
they open.
But you know
Gotta make
what?
up for time
Yeah.
lost.
Maybe when everything gets back to normal, people will even go more because they haven't been there.
Yeah.
You know that's gonna happen.
I know that is.
Yeah.
I'll be one of them.
I move or whatever.
Not me. I don't
Do we
give up
need a
on my money at
resolution or
all.
just-
We have a motion right
I have a
here.
motion.
I
Motion
second.
to keep it the same?
Yes.
Second.
Okay. Roll call, Mr. Moore?
Mrs. Heffernan,
Aye.
Mr. Lydic,
Aye.
Mrs. Plasko,
Aye.
Mrs. Hanson,
Aye.
Mr. McHugh.
Aye. I have one question before we.
Yes, sir.
What does the board feel about, do we have to visit this every year? Do we have to, can we stop and say, this is the way we're going to do it unless something from the treasurer changes?
I don't think we have to, but I think it's nice to
I think it's
just
good
reaffirm
PR.
to our parents that, you
It's
know,
good
we have
PR.
that option and we're still choosing to not have it. I mean, I don't know.
Well, I understand what we did, I was
Yeah.
just
I'm-
throwing it out there, it's not.
It's just good PR, and if we
Yeah.
don't have the money, then we will have to do something
Yeah,
else.
I think it's
Okay.
good PR.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you. That's all I got.
Mr. McHugh, that's all from my list of topics tonight.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Davis. Next up, Mr. Morehouse, treasurer's report.
All right, last month was obviously a good one, just with the taxes coming in from the county. Our food service, continues to do well, and I was noticing, the receipts for March for this year compared to last year for food service was about $30,000 down. And, I was trying to look at why, and then I recalled, we had to advance $30,000 to the food service last year at this time.
Yes.
So that's why there was a difference. So food service, up until the closure, still remains to do well, okay?
So we haven't advanced any money this year to them.
Not since July, when we do the original.
That's what I'm getting
advance. Yes, not since then, no, we have not. Last month, I kind of gave everyone a little economic outlook on, from the pandemic going on, and I know it's kind of doom and gloom,
Yes,
after
yes,
I
it
was
was.
done. So I've got a few more things to talk to you about. So one of the things was, there's a statewide push from some county treasurers out there wanting to delay second half taxes for people. And I've spoken to someone within Summit County and then got it in writing that Summit County does not plan to delay the due dates for the
saw that
second
too.
half property taxes. As they put it, if they have some statutory things they have to meet, and if they did that, they would have severe trouble meeting those statutory items that they have to do. So as of right now, there is no plan on that. The one thing we do have to watch is for the property taxes, the delinquencies. Right now, there's really no way of guessing how much delinquencies might go up in the second half, just due to everyone being out of work right now. Some other good things, though, that has come out of this is our food service program. As you know, we're all doing is we call it Big Feed on a weekly basis for everybody. Normally, we get reimbursed the federal monies for children who are eligible for free and reduced. Now we're getting it for every child that we serve. So the state is looking at us as like a summer program, so we're getting reimbursed for everybody. So this is what enables us to continue to do this. The governor last week or week before had asked the board from the Bureau of Workers' Compensation to issue rebates going back to the 2018 premium year. And we were expecting this because their bottom line BWC's funds are high enough to where they have to issue rebates, but we weren't expecting it until next year. So he is, because of all the business shortings and everything out there, he has requested it to happen now. And from what I understand, their checks will be coming out quickly,
Soon.
hopefully within the next week.
Yeah.
Some of them might even go out yesterday or today already. So we're very glad about that. While I'm on the subject of BWC, I just found out right before the meeting, we participate in the Summit County Safety Council, and there's some certain criteria you have to do to get a 2% rebate. Well, since this all happened, they haven't had any meetings since March. There's some paperwork normally we have to file. We don't have to file the paperwork. We don't have to continue to go to any more meetings. We've attended enough of our meetings to still qualify for a 2% rebate, so I was real happy about that.
That's good.
Yeah, the couple other just things is, last week our insurance consortium met, and while we are recognizing an increase in our insurance rates, they're only going up just right around 5%, in fact a little under. So I've had 10% built into the 5-year forecast, so that's gonna help us. If you recall, a couple years ago, we took a 14% increase. So anything less than 8, 10%, I'm a happy camper. So we haven't notified the employees of this yet, but something will be coming out pretty soon to let them know what's going on with the insurance. And just the other thing is, you know, everyone, there's still a lot of unsure things. There's all kinds of rumors flowing out there that, you know, the state's gonna cut back, you know, anywhere from 2 to 20% over the next couple of years. We don't know. We're hoping to find out more, but the state doesn't know what they're gonna do. You know, hopefully won't be, God forbid, anything near that, but, you know, we're just unsure of things. We're just unsure of, you know, right now we're saving some money on some things, but what costs are gonna come up in the future because of all this. Anytime you have something big like this, different things, different laws and rules and regulations come down and they cost money. We just don't know what they're going to be yet. So hopefully our report to you this month was a little bit better than it was last month, but it's still, it's just, I'd always be rather be prepared to let you know what's gonna happen. We'll see what happens coming up.
Thank you.
Mr. President, that's all I have for you.
All right. Any I'm sorry, it's recommended the board approve the treasurer's report as presented. I will so move.
Second.
Second. Any last questions, further questions? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. McHugh.
Aye.
Mrs. Plasko.
Aye.
Mrs. Hanson.
Aye.
Mrs. Heffernan.
Aye.
Mr. Laydick.
Aye.
Okay, that concludes the treasurer's report. Move up to Board of Education reports, correspondence, updates, committee reports. Anything to, for the good of the order? Okay, takes us to 7, consent resolution.
I move.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call.
Mrs. Hanson.
Aye.
Mrs. Heffernan.
Aye.
Mrs. Plasko.
Aye.
Mr. Laydick.
Aye.
Mr. McHugh.
Aye. Takes us to 8, personnel, certificated staff. I believe we have 9 items to move forward.
I'll move.
A second.
My question, I forgot to call, but down here we're under 7. The hours are 5.8. Is that the 5.75 rounded up? Or it's supposed to be 5.8?
5.8.
Okay, thank you.
I would just add, given that this is the April board meeting, you'll remember in March we do administrators and supervisors. In April we do certificated staff. This is routine, but you'll notice only one teacher will you be granting tenure to tonight, continuing contract. Dina Vojnovic, she's an elementary teacher over at the elementary school, a great teacher. It's unusual to have just one, but we're getting to the point
A lot
where
of them
so
don't
many
want to, don't they? I mean,
teachers
they
are
have-
required now to have a master's degree, so it happens whether they want to or not typically.
Oh, I see.
It's just unusual to have just one, but it shows you where we are as a district. Our staff is
A lot of
much
them are,
more
yeah.
educated
Yeah.
and toward that end than they are younger.
Right.
Okay, anything? Okay, roll call, please.
Mrs. Plasko.
Aye.
Mr. Laydick.
Aye.
Mrs. Hanson.
Aye.
Mrs. Heffernan.
Aye.
Mr. McHugh.
Aye. Takes us to Part B, classified staff. We have 3 items there. I will move that.
I'll second.
Motion is second. Any comment?
I would just call your attention to the second item. This is Robert Sykes. One of you asked me last month if we'd be acting on this. We waited until now because I had some things to talk to Robert about. But we are reducing his contract. He's staying with us to continue doing the fabulous work that he does for us, but also will now be branching out and doing some workshops and stuff for other school districts that are going to benefit from his work. He and his wife Karen team up and provide anger management workshops, which are really, really popular. The 6th District Compact uses them. They actually do those workshops here in the library. And kids from all over with their parents come to those workshops when they have difficulties with behaviors and things. So Robert and Karen will be doing more of those because we're freeing his time up a little bit to go that route.
Okay.
Excellent. Okay. Question? Roll call, please.
Mr. McHugh.
Aye.
Mrs. Heffernan.
Aye.
Mrs. Plasko.
Aye.
Mrs. Hanson.
Aye.
Mr. Laydick.
Aye.
Okay, that takes us to recommendations. First one up, Staff Appreciation Week proclamation for May 3rd through 9th, 2020. I will make that motion.
Are we gonna sponsor a Zoom party?
I actually had a call yesterday with our folks at the Impact Group to see what other districts were doing. You know, what are the ideas? She promised she would call me back, and I'm expecting that call this week, because it really is challenging when you're not together every day to create, you know, an atmosphere of appreciation.
We
We're
should
gonna
have a
figure something out.
6 foot apart parade.
Jeans every day for the rest of the year.
Well, we were thinking pajamas every day. You know? We did call out to our partners in the parent associations, PSO, PTO, WSO, to talk about the possibility of some neighborhood kind of things that we could do, maintaining social distancing, of course. You've seen it on the news with parades and whatnot, but
Parades with the cars.
yeah, I'll keep you posted as that develops. I think our teachers are understanding of whatever we're able to do given the scenario.
Are they gonna have, this kinda goes with that, but, cause I'm thinking, are they gonna have a day or a time when all the teachers will be in a certain building for kids to come back and get
Yes.
stuff or whatever?
Yeah, we're in the midst of figuring out how we're gonna handle the end of the year. We have kids that have stuff in their lockers. We did go through and make sure there were no peanut butter sandwiches still in lockers.
Oh,
No
they
lunch
would've
bags
tried.
and things, but parents are anxious to be able to come in and get their, you know, some of them maybe have a band instrument that's still here, or we also are talking about whether or not we're gonna collect the Chromebooks, or if we're gonna let them keep them, or, you know, for next year, other than the senior class, of course. All of those logistics. And then also, our collegial coaches at each grade level, there's some end of the year reports that they need to do, inventory, you know, just stuff like that. So to answer your question, yes, there will be days. We're talking about using a program that Mr. Hosford brought to our attention. We have it, it's called Schedule Genius or something like that, where parents right now are usually use it to schedule parent-teacher conferences. You go in and pick your time and put your name in. But we're thinking of making them sign up for an appointment so that we don't have everybody coming in at once, but every 15 minutes or so, another group of people come in, so that we can maintain safety that way. But yes, we're gonna have to do that.
I was wondering if you could like provide lunch for them on those days?
That's a
or-
possibility,
I mean,
yeah.
in addition, if
But
you wanted to do
teachers
something
could
else,
be
but I'm
back.
just thinking something where they'll all be there.
Yeah,
I don't
we
know.
could do that.
Or breakfast or
definitely.
lunch or.
And typically, as you know, our parent associations usually do have luncheons and breakfasts and
Right.
things anyway, so that would work. We could do that.
Okay, we good?
I do have the proclamation in the red folder here for all of you to sign
Okay.
for
Oh, okay.
Staff Appreciation Week.
That being said, roll call.
I don't have a second for the motion. We had a motion.
Second, whatever it takes to get out here.
Mr. McHugh.
Aye.
Mrs. Hanson.
Aye.
Mrs. Plasko.
Aye.
Mrs. Heffernan.
Aye.
Mr. Laydick.
Aye.
Okay, takes us to the Children's Hospital Medical Center of Akron Audiology Services Agreements for 2020-2021 school year.
Move.
Second. Okay, roll call.
Mrs. Hanson.
Aye.
Mr. McHugh.
Aye.
Mrs. Plasko.
Aye.
Mrs. Hanson. Or excuse me, Mrs. Heffernan.
Aye.
Mr. Laydick.
Aye.
Okay, next up.
Okay, wait a minute, I just thought of something else on the heels of talking about that. How about these, places that get like the hospitals, whenever they get Swenson's to come in and give them all their, at the thing, I wonder if they do something.
Well, I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but we'd already do something with a company out of Wayne County called Lurch's Donuts. Lurch's Donuts are famous south of here for being the best donuts around. Someone in PTO knows them or figured it out, and the Lurch's Donut truck, I kid you not, has been coming to the district for the last 2 or 3 years, and they make them on site in their little truck, and they hand every staff member a little box
Oh,
of
no, I didn't know that.
donuts. We are discussing whether or not the parent group wants to do that
Oh,
again.
okay. All right.
So are you gonna deliver it to each house?
No, for the staff.
Cool.
There'd have to be a day when they're all here.
The
Yeah.
board members could come up, just.
You
kinda
could.
pop up
I
and
You
think
say,
could.
if you're the best.
When I was
folks
a
around,
campfire
you
girl, we used to sell donuts. We would pick them up in our communities, and we would deliver them hot. They were hot in the boxes.
Sign
when
me
we
up,
got 'em.
Mrs. Hanson.
I used to sell a lot of them. It's neat.
Okay,
Sorry.
so we just said Children's Educational Service Center Primary Service Plan Agreement.
I move.
I'll second.
Let me just say this. We rely on our ESC for lots of things. Every year in April, we come to you with a whole slew of contracts with them. This is the first one that is our general plan for services. And then you're gonna see a number of others related to
Each
leases
kind of
and
little
each
things.
particular
Right.
program,
That's why I was gonna say, couldn't we just do them all at once?
all separate.
Yep. Okay, we're good for that. Roll call.
And they're good for staying open, right?
Oh, yeah,
They have to,
yeah.
they're a public entity.
Well, some of them are merging and merging.
Not gonna happen to ours.
That's a whole different discussion. I know that one personally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you
Tom's
do.
lived through that.
Roll call.
Mrs. Hanson?
Aye.
Mrs. Heffernan?
Aye.
Mrs. Plasko?
Aye.
Mr. Leidig?
Aye.
Mr. McHugh?
Aye. Next up, Summit Educational Service Center Agreement for employment of LEA staff.
I'll move.
A second.
Roll call. Long. Any comment? Okay, roll call.
Mrs. Plasko?
Aye.
Mr. Leidig?
Aye.
Mrs. Hanson?
Aye.
Mrs. Heffernan?
Aye.
Mr. McHugh?
Aye. All them tails of that, Summit Educational Service Center Agreement for 2020-2021 preschool program.
I'll move.
Second.
Motion and second.
I will make a comment again.
Okay.
Remember, there are two different preschools. This one is the Honey Locust grant-funded preschool. One that you will look at in a minute is the one that runs out of our elementary school.
Okay.
But they're located not at Honey Locust, are they? Aren't they
No.
over at Maple Garden? What is it, Maple Gardens?
We combined the two into one
Yeah, I
site.
was gonna
And they come to Honey Locust?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Roll call.
Mrs. Heffernan?
Aye.
Mrs. Hanson?
Aye.
Mrs. Plasko?
Aye.
Mr. Leidig?
Aye.
Mr. McHugh?
Alright, which takes us to Summit Educational Service Center School Building Lease Agreement for the 2020-2021 school year.
I'll move.
I'll second.
This is our,
Yes, this is our building at
Building-based
the elementary school.
correct.
Do they have only one room?
One room.
Okay.
One room school? Okay.
Yeah, it really is.
There you go. Roll call.
Mr. Leidig?
Aye.
Mr. McHugh?
Aye.
Mrs. Plasko?
Aye.
Mrs. Hanson?
Aye.
Mrs. Heffernan?
Aye.
Okay, taking us to the next recommendation, resolution authorizing required third grade assessments in paper format.
I'll move.
I'll second.
So we're jumping the gun a little bit here, but
know.
it is required that if we want it in paper next year, there's a deadline that we have to tell the state that we want it, and I don't wanna miss out if in fact we give that test next year. So I'm
Fine with
asking you
me.
to approve it now so that I can send it in case we have testing next year.
Okay. Okay, roll call.
Mrs. Hanson?
Aye.
Mr. McHugh?
Aye.
Mrs. Plasko?
Aye.
Mrs. Heffernan?
Aye.
Mr. Leidig?
Aye.
Okay, that takes care of that. The next up is the remote learning plan. Approve the following resolution. I will move that.
Second. Whoever.
Comment, is that,
Yeah, it's pretty obvious, right, as you read through this. This is just getting the board's approval that obviously we're changing the way we deliver instruction and how we're assessing the work that kids are doing. So in the plan, it outlines all of that. We've shared that with the parents, probably to the point where they're sick of hearing it.
But is this on the website?
It is not yet, because you haven't approved it.
Oh,
Once you approve it, we'll make it public.
because I was
But
gonna say, the public might wanna read this too.
Parents have heard it, their principals have sent them, phone messages about it. We've discussed it as a staff and whatnot, but I have been given guidance from our lawyers that we really ought to have board approval for it. There it is.
I'm
That's why
hearing
it's-
from a lot of different places how parents are losing their minds trying to teach kids, which will certainly give a big appreciation for what the teachers do. And,
Yes, I agree.
and I think this is a good lesson for parents to understand and know, you know, the value of our teachers. And I'm also wondering though, since the kids know they're not coming back to school and the weather's getting nicer, do you think we're gonna see a real slack off of kids doing their
Hope
work?
not.
And-
Well, I think that's always a worry we have even when we're in session.
Right. But you have the teachers there to make
Right.
sure they do it, and the parents are
Right.
exasperated, not all of them, but,
I mean, we could sit and talk about all the possibilities, obviously.
yeah.
But as if you've heard my phone messages that I've sent to the parents, and I try to do one a week, I don't want to overwhelm them. I keep telling them, if you have an issue, we're here for you. Call us.
Right.
The teachers are here, our guidance counselors. These are resources that parents, I hope, will
Yeah.
take advantage of. Call us so that we can be of help to you.
Right.
And
I hope they do.
I do, and they have
Yeah.
up to now. You know, I had one father that reached out to me and said, "You know, I'm not a teacher. I got to work,
Yeah.
and I'm at home working, and my kids are trying to do their homework, and they're asking me questions." That was early on, and Mrs. Harrington reached out to that family. We had the counselor reach out to them. So as we become aware of those situations, we have the perfect people to step in and help them. So I ask the community, if you're in a position where you need that kind of help, by all means reach out.
Right.
As the time has gone on, we've become even more structured in our Zoom meet or our Google Meet times, and teachers have advertised office hours where this is when I'm available. If you call, I'll be sure to have you know, availability. And so we're seeing less and less angst from parents. But like anything, as this goes on, I have to admit, yesterday when the governor announced it, I was depressed the whole rest of the day. I felt horrible. Like, what do you mean we're not going to get to see our kids again this
Yeah.
year, you know?
Did you see the Facebook one where the van pulls up and it's like, it's the first day of school back and the van opens and they just throw the kids out. They throw them out on the ground with their coats and their lunch boxes.
But I think Marilyn's point is very true, and I think I heard you say this. Parents are saying, wow, teaching is hard.
Yeah.
You know, this is not something I
You
signed
know,
up
and I
for.
also
you know?
think they're learning the stuff we're teaching now.
Yeah.
You know, one of my employees she's just 40, her little guy's in first or second grade. And she says, I don't even understand his math. How can I help him? But you know, I kind of explained to her like set theory. I mean, that's really what it is, to
Yeah.
understand how you get there rather than just have an answer.
That's right.
And I said, I was teaching that in my first grade because I was a math teacher and expected them to understand where they were coming from. But I said, so many people that teach these things like math are not necessarily, now we are more geared to what you're teaching. But in the days when we were all growing up and when she was even growing up,
So,
you had a teacher in the elementary school who taught most everything
yeah.
and was not good at a lot of it.
So one of the things that superintendents in the area have been all worried about is the state statute that says you have to be in school for X number of hours for that year to count. Remember, it used to be days,
Yeah.
now it's hours.
And now it's ours.
So we've all been like, oh my gosh, how many hours are they working? How many lessons? How does that equate? The state released guidance last weekend that said that your school day is what you say your school day is. So if kids are online for 3 hours a day, that's a school day. You know, whatever it is, it
Yeah.
is. So they're not going to make us, you know,
Penalize.
physically count up
Count
and
the
penalize
hours?
us for the hours. That was huge, because as we've said to our parents, we want this time to be kids first, lessons second. You know, it's about relationships. It's about, you know, parents having some sanity when this is all done, you know,
Yeah.
and us getting through it. You know, in the elementary grades, we're not giving kids A's, B's, and C's. It's pass, fail. We're keeping tracks in progress books so parents can see what their kids are doing and not doing. But we're not going to hold kids back because the fourth quarter they weren't able to
See,
keep
that's
up.
where I've been
Right.
for 25 or 40 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just different. And, you know, we were talking about the school calendar. The schools were closed on the 16th, I think, was the day the governor.
All right.
I move this one.
Okay, I'll second. Any comment?
This is, town management will be handing our workers' comp claims, our TPA. They work hand in hand with our MCO, 888 Ohio Comp. And this is one that annually we have to select, and they've sharpened their pencils and came back with our best rates and fees for us. So this is my recommendation to the board.
Okay. Questions? Roll call.
Mrs. Hanson.
Aye.
Mr. McHugh.
Aye.
Mrs. Plasko.
Aye.
Mrs. Heffernan.
Aye.
Mr. Laydick.
Aye.
Everybody on board, okay. That closes that out. Number 10, finance. First up is the fund transfer. Recommend the board approve the following fund transfers. I will so move.
I'll second.
Nathan, Tom?
This is just our annual moving of the money from, that we have remaining from our tournament fees for either soccer, basketball, whatever we have there. And to be able to put that into athletics to spend it, we have to funnel it through the general fund. Everything always has to funnel through the general fund. But then we can put that in the 300, our athletic funds, and then Mr. Mayor can spend that as he so chooses. It just has to be equitable between male and female according to Title IX and how we spend the money.
But it has to be spent on student activity,
It has to be some type of athletic.
can't be coaches?
We don't pay coaches through the athletic fund. Those come through the general fund.
Okay, so this is the, yes, that's what you just said. Never mind.
Anyone else? Roll call.
Mr. McHugh.
Aye.
Mrs. Heffernan.
Aye.
Mrs. Plasko.
Aye.
Mrs. Hanson.
Aye.
Mr. Laydick.
Aye.
Okay. I've come to the point where it's adjourned.
I'll move.
Second. Questions? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Heffernan.
Aye.
Mr. McHugh.
Aye.
Mrs. Plasko.
Aye.
Mrs. Hanson.
Aye.
Mr. Laydick.
Aye.
And
Hey,
We are adjourned.
Marilyn, did you see Tom Smith passed away?
Hey, you're still on audio and video, so hold
Oh,
on
sorry.
one second
All right.
here.
who?
Well, that's a former teacher.